is decrypted to check what's going on inside and so on and so on and so on, right? But we do not keep any specific like user data or something like that in those POPs, right? Are we? Honestly, if the whole user traffic is going through it, right? But you can say it's just the cache. Correct? And what about that? Data is data. Doesn't matter if this is cache or not cache, right? User data is user data. The like very specific information which is going through those POPs is there. And maybe you believe that those, cache delivery companies, they say to you, we are not reading your data. I tend to not be the one who says I don't believe them, but just a reminder, ChatGPT also said that they don't store the data from the sessions, right? Right, so would you like to be in this situation with your disks, with your data? Good. I'm always waiting for someone who is willing to be in this situation. So what if you are in this situation? Right? It's even worse a little bit. And the hearts can differ, depends on the country, of course, right? And the region of the world. And that's not all really, because we have much more problems with that. So today world is really connected, but connected with something what is very vulnerable, right? Some cables, some satellite connections, things like that. This can be easily broken. We all heard about the story about this ship which accidentally put down anchor on the bottom of the sea, and they didn't realize that for 200 kilometers. Right? Couple of cables were severed. What a coincidence. So coincidence in this case is exactly what Mr. Garak from Star Trek said, right? I believe in coincidences, but I don't trust them. So we have many, many really issues currently in the world. We have hacker attacks, right? Our countries are victims of a lot of attacks today, right? We have these things with the cables under the sea. And to be honest, it's easy to sever the cable, but it's extremely expensive to fix it. So this is another problem, and it takes time. We have hackers who are using new technologies, AI, and they are using this technology better than many companies, especially the corporate managers, I'm sorry. And we have a lot of situations. Well, did you hear recently what Grafana announced? Yesterday or 2 days ago? Accidentally, the token for GitHub just leaked. For the whole code base. I wonder if this was Claude or ChatGPT or whatever, but it doesn't matter. The fact is fact, right? So even if we talk for years about basic security stuff, it's a second, right? We hear so many times now about the NPM packages being infected. So it's happening, right? And the attacks on supply chain are more critical for us than attack on the application. For us as an industry, I say, because it spreads in millions of downloads. But this coin has a second side, really. We talk about technicalities, this is fun, and so on, we can do something with that. But there are regulations also. And this is a funny thing. And Luckily, I'm not the lawyer, so I can talk about this. Like every poll, I know everything about everything. We have in European Union GDPR. Who is familiar with that? Who really implemented that in the company? I mean, really implemented it in the company. Because what it means. For example, I read it, right, before, and there was information you have to put a lot of efforts to separate the PII data from normal data. Okay, I understand that. How to do it? I asked the lawyers how to do it. What do you mean? Okay, should I have another table? Should I have the records encrypted? Should I have another database for it? How I should separate it? And every lawyer I talked with had some urgent meeting in this time. Another coincidence, right? So they had a lot of meetings. I don't know even today. They didn't respond to me about this. And this is the problem with GDPR. And GDPR is 10 years old, all right? But we have also NIS2. Who is ready for NIS2? 4 years. It's active for 4 years. There is Data Governance Act. Who heard about Data Governance Act? 4 years. Enough? No. We have Data Act, we have AI Act, we have Digital Services Act. And those are only several acts in Europe. We have Cloud Act in US. We have, and many people will tell you that Cloud Act is a problematic thing. No, Cloud Act is not the problematic thing. FISA 702 is. Because this really allows those free letters organizations in US to ask for your data. And who thinks that any US company will fight with this kind question of free letter agency? And here is the problem. Because we have several approaches to something what many companies called clouds, sovereign cloud in Europe, AWS, Azure, and so on and so on. So AWS started AWS sovereign cloud in Europe, right? They have even the entity for it created. Linux Foundation, they have Linux Foundation Europe, under which Neonifos is. So Neonifos, which is the European approach to create the like big cloud approach, right? Kinda. But you know what is the problem? The problem from FISA 702, that if your company is under US law and you create the branch or any kind of, relation between you and some entity you created somewhere else, this entity also is under US law. So Linux Foundation Europe, AWS Sovereign Cloud, they are under US governance anyway. The only one reason which I can find in my mind is that the question, the request and the response from this company will take 1 day longer. Who heard about Schrems 2? This is a very specific thing. So is it a regulation? No, it's not. This is the verdict of TSUE from 2020, 6 years old. And Schrems, in fact, is a guy, Max Schrems from Austria. He sued Facebook for data transfer from Facebook Ireland to Facebook Inc. Right? Facebook Ireland is another entity than Facebook Inc. He signed his agreement with Facebook Ireland, not Facebook Inc. in US. And surprise, this verdict cancelled completely the regulation called Privacy Act. Privacy Act was the regulation between US and Europe about the exchange of the data. exactly for FISA 702, and so on and so on and so on. And the court said that this regulation doesn't provide proper protection into both sides. What that does means really for us, for the companies, that the risk assessment and security improvements, what we do with GDPR and things like that, starts to be much more complicated, because GDPR didn't say on the beginning where you have to store your data, or it is important that your European citizen data is stored in Europe. You had to be compliant with regulations, but you could store it in Antarctica if you wanted. Right now, you have to put a lot of efforts to keep it in Europe, right? You have to have strong encryption. Keys must stay in Europe. Who thinks that OpenSSL library can be a problematic, or any library for your encryption keys? Data obfuscation. Operations also must be based in Europe, right? And those of you who have really explicit mathematical skills saw something on the previous slides. There was Schrems 2. So those of you who are really intelligent, you can think there was Schrems 1, and you are correct. Because Schrems 1, also by Max Schrems, cancelled Safe Harbor in 2015. What was Safe Harbor? Exactly the same. Different wording, but the same kind of regulation between Europe and US. And there are rumors that there will be Schrems 3 very soon, which potentially will kill US data privacy framework. So the timeline is simple like this. We have Safe Harbor from 2000 to 2015, cancelled by Schrems 1, then Privacy Shield cancelled by Schrems 2, and DPF probably will be cancelled by Schrems 3. I love this guy, honestly. He has a lot of time, looks like. But he is doing a good job. But you know what? This is the question to the different kind of lawyers and people involved in that. Can you do it right from the first attempt? Because we are paying for it, all of us. Preparing our companies for the regulations and so on and so on and so on and so on, right? It takes a lot of time. And it's like Tom and Jerry game. There is a regulation, there is a process, there is a cancellation of regulation, there is another regulation, and so on. And we are playing this ball like idiots. And what Europe offers in terms of cloud sovereignty, in terms of data sovereignty, and so on and so on. So first of all, according to according to the experts from medium.com, Europe is dead. You wish, Mr. T. It's not true yet, and we have some clouds. But obviously, according to those experts, cloud is also dead, right? We should go back to on-prem. But it's not entirely true. So how many of you recognize at least one vendor from this list? Right? 2 vendors. 3. 4. How many of you recognize 3 hyperscalers vendors? AWS, Azure, and GCP. That's the problem, right? European companies are not that well known. Is this enough? No. We have more. Is this enough? No, we have more. For example, in the list I don't have Infomaniac from Switzerland. They're not just doing kind of cloud approach, but if you want to remove your G Suite from your landscape, you can use them. They have DNS, they have emails, they have the whole stuff. They have even the marketing stuff. So that's a good thing. But what to choose? There's really many vendors in Europe, even if we don't know them. So I asked my two colleagues, one is called ChatGPT, second is called Claude, to have a kinda unbiased opinion about different vendors and different kind of computing, let's say. What I asked is to collect information about not only the quality, but what is the offering, what are the opinions, what are the feedbacks, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So generally, if you are looking for some solution, this type of information you will collect, right? And they weren't always in agreement. That was strange, because they base on the same information theoretically, right? But anyway, so of course AI is dead. That we know this, right? So that's more than obvious. But now I have a problem, probably, right? Because everyone here is saying that AI, AI, AI. Anyway, for the network, on the first place, OVH Cloud is. So in this terms here, we have information, or I asked about giving me the feedback related to what kind of network you can build, right? And so on and so on, right? Then compute. We have first disagreements here. GPU as well. For managed Kubernetes, this is something what we all use, and especially on the cloud native days, probably every one of you heard at least about this, right? Databases, but SQL version, because there are differences, and no SQL versions, right? And it's not only what kind of databases you can have, but how many of them, what is the scalability, what is the performance of them, and so on and so on and so on. What kind of support you can have. Because honestly speaking, what we had most of the time that support from European vendors is shitty. And here I have to say, in UpCloud, it's different. It's better. It's best. Thank you. UpCloud is the best, right? So if you try to find something, go to the UpCloud website and try, because you can have 250 euros free credits to check it. Advertisement done. But that's not all. We talk about theory, but how to prepare yourself, right? And this is only the part of the picture, because what we need to understand that sovereignty in Europe is a little bit more than just data and cloud location. That's why I built the tool under this link. It will be published soon as a tool itself, and it is AI powered, of course. It is completely locally. So I'm not using any LLM inference tool outside the machine where this tool is run. It does the full analysis of your sovereignty based on your responses, of course, and it is based on regulation and guidance from different places. And generally, this is the short architecture. I hope it is visible. So it's very, well, simple. It took me just 8 months to build the whole thing with the full assessment. And the assessment contains these 8 domains: infrastructure sovereignty, software and application sovereignty, data sovereignty, and so on and so on and so on. Skills and workforce. Who is thinking about this as part of sovereignty issue, for example, right? It contains 8 domains, 55 key practice areas, so KPAs, just 264 questions, only 4 hours of work, or 5 minutes if you just go with whatever, and 5 levels of maturity on the end. And finally, this is how the questionnaire looks like. Simple, AI-ish, of course. And in response, you have your full report. The report can be even 100 pages long, because the tool is doing the full analysis of the responses based on the regulation, based on the guides, and also provides specific solutions for specific problems. Okay? And AI is checking itself a couple of times, even enrich the responses when needed. So in this laptop, it takes like 20 minutes to run one assessment by AI only. So it's quite intensive, I would say. I spent I would say, years on making those prompts useful and, you know, useful, let's say, period, right? And that's it. If you like to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do it with this QR code. Of course, QR is dead, but still, it works. And of course, I ask you to try European vendors. Of course, UpCloud as well, but generally, if you like to move and try any European vendor, just do it, because you can be surprised. And that's it. Thank you very much.